Hey everyone, so what if I told you that one of the oldest civilizations in history was actually, well, surprisingly modern? Today, we're going to take a fresh look at ancient Mesopotamia, and I think what we find is really going to change how you see the deep past.
You know, when we think of ancient history, it's pretty easy to picture this dry, dusty world, right? A world of just kings and contracts and commerce. This idea was really famously captured in Thornton Wilder's play Our Town.
But is that really the whole story? I mean, could one of the cradles of civilization truly be that one-dimensional? Let's dig in and find out.
Yeah, the truth is, the people of Mesopotamia left behind a story that's so much richer, way more detailed, and honestly, surprisingly more modern than we've ever been led to believe.
See, this wasn't some simple, primitive society. Not at all. Mesopotamia was a bustling, really complex world with social structures and professional ladders that, well, they might feel incredibly familiar to you. So at the very top, you had the king, who was seen as this kind of go-between with the gods. Right below them were powerful priests and priestesses. Then you had an upper class of merchants and scribes, a huge lower class that basically kept the cities running, and then, at the very bottom, slaves. It was a pretty rigid hierarchy, sure, but it was one that was absolutely teeming with life and ambition.
And listen, this wasn't a society of just farmers and soldiers. We were talking about doctors, architects, musicians, brewers, and get this, one of the most powerful rulers of the city of Kish, a woman named Queen Kubaba, she started her career as a tavern keeper. It's just a stunning example that climbing that social ladder, while it was tough, was absolutely not impossible.
Okay, so we've seen their complex society, but what about their homes? I mean, what was daily life actually like? Let's go ahead and bust another common myth.
Go on, be honest. When you picture an ancient Mesopotamian house, you probably imagine a simple mud hut, don't you? It's okay, it's a really common image.
But the reality was so much more sophisticated. Their homes had whitewashed exteriors and these cool red doors to ward off evil spirits. And inside, you'd find actual furniture, chairs, tables, even beds with mattresses and linen sheets. And you gotta hear this, by the 3rd millennium BCE, a lot of homes had indoor plumbing, complete with toilets and sewer systems made of clay pipes. We're talking thousands of years ago.
And they took construction very seriously. I mean, this line from the famous laws of Hammurabi shows there were dire consequences for shoddy work. It's so clear that for them, just like for us, home and safety were everything.
So beyond work and home, what about their families and their free time? This is where we see the universal human experience just truly shine through.
And what did their kids play with? Oh, you know, just clay rattles, dolls with miniature furniture, toy boats, balls and hoops. They even had a game of jump rope named after the goddess Ishtar. These are toys that are fundamentally the same as what kids play with today, thousands of years later. It's wild.
And it wasn't just the kids having fun. Adults loved board games. They had sports like wrestling and boxing. And, maybe most of all, they had a really deep and profound love for music.
Just how central was music to their culture? Well, consider this powerful, if a little grim example. A queen of Ur valued music so much that her royal musicians were actually buried with her to make sure she would have a soundtrack for the afterlife. That's dedication.
Okay, now let's get into the intellectual heart of their civilization. This is where we can really directly challenge that old idea of a culture known only for basic contracts. So remember that quote from the beginning about knowing nothing but the names of kings and some copies of wheat contracts? Well, as it turns out, the scribes of Mesopotamia were recording so much more.
Let me introduce you to something called the Sakikkū. Now, this wasn't just a collection of old folk remedies. No way. It was a highly advanced 40-tablet medical diagnostic handbook. It organized medical knowledge by observing symptoms, predicting outcomes, and it even covered specialized fields like neurology and obstetrics. This is systematic, empirical science.
And the scale of this knowledge, it's just staggering. The Sakikkū cataloged around 3,000 medical entries. Just imagine that, a massive body of knowledge, all carefully observed and recorded over centuries.
But beyond science and medicine, their writing captured the full spectrum of the human heart. Their literature was vast, emotional, and absolutely stunningly diverse. So yeah, so much for just wheat contracts.
They wrote epic myths like Gilgamesh, heartbreaking laments for fallen cities, love songs, wise proverbs, practical guides for farmers, and even tender lullabies for their children. This is the literary soul of a complex and incredibly creative people.
So when we put all of this together, their society, their homes, their intellectual and emotional lives, an absolutely astonishing picture starts to emerge.
They had complex social structures and specialized jobs just like we do. They cared deeply about their homes and families. They pursued art and music and sports. What becomes crystal clear is that the structures of their society and the concerns of their daily lives, they're a direct mirror of our own.
When you really strip away the thousands of years and all the differences in technology, you just find people who are fundamentally like us. They worked, they loved, they played. The core of what it means to be human, it hasn't really changed at all.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty fascinating thought. If all that survived of our entire civilization were our legal contracts and our tax records, what would future historians think of us? What parts of our rich, complicated, human story might they be missing completely?